Mina Adeyemi had always believed that silence was harmless. But on that gray November morning, it felt loud enough to shatter her chest. She stood in the middle of her living room, staring at the suitcase Tariq had placed by the door. He had just returned from a 2-week business trip, and instead of hugging her or asking how she was, he sat down on the couch with a strange emptiness in his eyes. "Mina," he said quietly, "we need to talk." Her stomach tightened. People never start conversations like that unless they are about to break something. Usually a heart, sometimes a life. Tariq exhaled heavily. "I'm ending our marriage," he said. "I've fallen in love with someone else." The words landed slowly, like falling bricks. Mina felt a ringing in her ears. The man she'd spent 12 years with was leaving. Just like that. No fight, no apology, no effort. Only cold decision. She wanted to scream, to ask who the woman was, to demand explanations. But she froze. Her voice refused to come. Tariq continued, oblivious to the storm he'd caused. "I've already talked to a lawyer," he said. "And, Mina, let's be adults. We'll split the assets, the land, the savings, the rental property, all of it 50-50. Mina blinked. The land? He had the nerve. That land had been a gift from her grandmother, a woman who survived 3 wars and insisted Mina should always have a place to call her own. "Tariq," she managed to whisper, "the land is mine. My grandmother left it to me." He gave an icy shrug. "Legally, we can discuss what's fair. You used our joint funds for the foundation work. So yes, I have a claim." He stood up, grabbed his suitcase handle, and calmly said, "I'll stay at a hotel tonight. My lawyer will contact you." Then he walked out, leaving Mina in a silence that finally felt deadly. She collapsed onto the couch, gripping the cushion, trying to breathe. 12 years. Gone. Replaced by a stranger with a suitcase and a script. But fate wasn't done with her. Not even close. Because Mina was about to uncover something Tariq never expected. Something that would turn the entire story upside down. Something she had discovered 2 weeks earlier. 2 weeks earlier, everything had seemed normal. Mina had come home early from work because her meeting was canceled. She planned to surprise Tariq with his favorite jollof rice and maybe a movie night. He'd been distant lately, always busy, always tired, but she believed a little effort could fix things. When she stepped inside, the house was unusually quiet. Then she saw it. Tariq's phone lying on the kitchen counter. He never left his phone unattended. Ever. At first, Mina ignored it. She'd never been the kind of wife who snooped. Trust was the foundation of their marriage. Or so she thought. But then the phone buzzed, and buzzed again, and again. She frowned and checked the screen. Message from Amma. "Baby, I can't wait for next week. Ghana was magical. Our real life starts soon." Mina's hand trembled. A second message came instantly. "Tell her after your trip. She'll be fine. She always is." The room spun. She didn't mean to open the phone, but her fingers moved before her thoughts could catch up. The password was their wedding anniversary. A cruel irony she would remember for the rest of her life. The chat opened, and Mina's world collapsed line by line. "Tariq, once I file, everything we built gets split in half. Selling Mina's land alone could give us enough for the down payment." Amma. "So you'll talk to her after the trip?" Tariq. "Yes. She won't fight back. She never does." Mina dropped the phone as if it burned her. Her land, the land her grandmother had protected fiercely, saying, "A woman must always have something that is hers." Tariq planned to take it and give it to another woman. For 12 years, Mina had supported him, emotionally, financially, spiritually. She had worked 2 jobs while he finished graduate school. She had paid the first mortgage deposit. She had cooked, cleaned, showed up to every event, every exam, every crisis. And this was her reward. Mina stared out the window, tears filling her eyes but refusing to fall. She wouldn't give him the satisfaction. Instead, she whispered to herself, "Think. Not panic. Think." The old Mina would have cried, begged, collapsed. But something in her cracked open. A part of her she didn't know existed. A quiet, cold clarity. She picked up the phone with steady fingers. If Tariq thought she was weak, if he thought she wouldn't fight, if he thought he could plan his future on her back, then he was about to discover a side of Mina he had never imagined. A side that had slept for too long. A side her grandmother once called the lioness. Mina opened her laptop, pulled the land documents out of their drawer, and began to plan. Not revenge, not anger, protection, strategy, survival. She had 2 weeks before Tariq returned, and she would use every single day. Mina placed the stack of documents on her dining table like pieces on a chessboard. Birth certificates, bank statements, land deeds. 12 years of shared life spread in front of her, suddenly feeling like evidence in a case she never asked to fight. The land deed was the most important. Her grandmother had given it to her when she turned 25. Mina remembered the old woman's trembling hands as she said, "Men may come and go. Land stays. This is your backbone." And now Tariq wanted to sell it, to start a new life with another woman. Mina clenched her jaw. "Not happening," she whispered. She needed advice, real advice. So she did something she had never done before. She called her cousin, Ava, an attorney. Ava picked up on the second ring. "Mina, you never called during the day. What's wrong?" Mina tried to keep her voice steady. "I discovered something about Tariq. I need legal guidance." Ava didn't hesitate. "Come to my office in an hour. Whatever it is, we'll figure it out." Ava's office. That afternoon, Mina sat across from her cousin, hands wrapped tightly around a cup of untouched coffee. She explained everything. The messages, the affair, the land, the plan to ambush her with divorce papers after his trip. Ava listened with growing disbelief. "That man is bold," she finally said. "Bold and stupid." Mina gave a humorless smile. "Tell me what to do." Ava pulled the land deed closer. "This is your lifeline. Legally, the land is yours alone. A gift is not marital property." Mina nodded. "But what about the foundation work we started? We paid for that together." Ava tapped her pen thoughtfully. "He can only claim compensation for his portion of the construction, not the land. And only if he can prove he paid anything substantial." Mina swallowed. There was more. "He gave me most of his contributions in cash," she said quietly. "I transferred it from my account to the contractors." Ava raised an eyebrow. "So on paper, it looks like you paid almost everything." Mina said nothing. Ava closed the folder and leaned forward. "Listen to me. You're not stealing anything. You're protecting what was already yours. He planned to leave you with nothing but ashes. You're simply stepping out of the fire before he burns you." Mina let out a shaky breath. "Then what do I do now?" Ava handed her a checklist, bold, precise, unforgiving. "Gather every document proving the land is yours. Print every bank statement with your payments. Stop transferring money from the joint account. Immediately. Meet an independent appraiser for the construction value. Prepare for the divorce before he thinks you know anything." Ava placed her hand over Mina's. "You have 2 weeks. Use them. Do not confront him yet. The quiet ones are always underestimated. That's your advantage. Mina nodded slowly. Yes. He thinks I'm weak. Ava's eyes sharpened. Good. Then let him keep thinking that. That night, Mina walked past the mirror in the hallway. Her reflection stopped her. She looked tired, hurt. But behind the sadness, there was something else emerging. A steadiness that hadn't been there before. Mina, she whispered to her reflection, he doesn't get to write your ending. And for the first time in a long time, she believed it. The next morning, Mina woke up before sunrise. Not because she slept well. She barely slept at all. But because determination had replaced exhaustion. She brewed a cup of ginger tea, tied her hair into a low bun, and sat at the dining table with a notebook. A blank page stared back at her until she wrote the title, Operation Rebuild. Below it, she listed her tasks for the next 14 days. Gather every land-related document, download all bank statements, contact an appraiser, open a new private bank account, move her savings, review the joint account movements, record every suspicious expense Tariq had made, prepare emotionally for the confrontation she knew was coming. When she finished, she looked at the list and felt a strange sense of control. Pain was still there, yes. But now it had structure, direction. She opened her laptop and began printing documents, one after another. The familiar hum of the printer filled the room, a steady rhythm guiding her through the morning. By noon, she had a thick folder of evidence. Everything her grandmother ever warned her to protect was now shielded under Mina's name alone. That afternoon, she drove to the lot, the one Tariq wanted to sell behind her back. The air was cool and crisp as she stepped out, walking across the open field. The foundation workers were nearly done for the week. Mr. Coleman, the foreman, waved at her. Morning, Ms. Adeyemi. We finished the structural pour yesterday. Thank you, Mina said softly. What's the next step? Well, we can start the walls in a week, he replied. Just need your go-ahead. She hesitated. Actually, hold off on that. I need to review some family matters first. Mr. Coleman nodded politely. No problem at all. Just let me know when you're ready. As Mina walked back to her car, she stared at the future she once imagined. The house she and Tariq had dreamed of. Or rather, the house she dreamed of, and the house he planned to take from her. A quiet resolve settled in her chest. You won't take this from me, she whispered. Not the land, not her dignity, not her future. Day 5, the bank Mina stood in line at the bank, hands steady for the first time in days. She opened a new private account, one Tariq couldn't access or track. The banker typed in her information. Would you like to transfer any funds today? Yes, Mina said. All of it. Her voice didn't waver. Her savings, her rainy day fund, her grandmother's inheritance. Everything moved into the new account. For the first time in years, she felt protected. Day 8, the appraisal. The independent appraiser arrived at the construction site and walked through the foundation measurements. It's worth about 1/3 of the projected value of the finished home, he said. Mina nodded. That meant even if Tariq tried to demand compensation, it would be a small fraction compared to what he expected. She could pay it and walk away. Walk away with her land, her dignity, and her future. Day 12. The realization. Tariq sent her a message. Everything's good here. Might extend the trip by 2 days. Mina stared at the text, the audacity of it almost laughable. He was relaxing with another woman while planning to destroy her life financially, but she didn't reply with anger. She replied with the most brilliant weapon she had learned over the past week. Silence. Her new strength. Day 14, the calm before the storm. Mina stood in the living room, the same place where Tariq had once proudly told her they'd build a life together. Now she stood in that space with a folder under her arm and steel in her spine. He would walk through the door in a few hours. He would sit her down and say the words he rehearsed on the plane. He would think she would break. But he didn't know that Mina had changed. He didn't know she had spent 14 days rebuilding what he tried to destroy. He didn't know that she was not the Mina he left behind. Not anymore. She inhaled deeply. "Let him come," she whispered. "For the first time. I'm ready." Tariq returned on a late Sunday afternoon. Mina heard the familiar sound of his key turning in the lock, a sound that used to mean comfort. Now it sounded like the start of a storm she had prepared 2 weeks for. The door opened. Tariq walked in, dragging his suitcase, smelling of expensive cologne and airport exhaustion. But his exhaustion wasn't from travel. Mina could see it in his eyes. He was rehearsing a speech. "Hey," he said stiffly. "I'm home." Mina looked up from the book she wasn't actually reading. "Welcome back," she replied calmly. That startled him. He expected coldness, tears, maybe anger. But Mina's serenity was unsettling, like standing in a quiet field right before lightning strikes. Tariq cleared his throat. "Mina, we need to talk." "I know," she said, gesturing to the sofa. "Sit." He sat. She sat across from him, relaxed, hands in her lap. No shaking, no tears, no begging. Just quiet strength. Tariq hesitated, thrown off by her composure. "Okay, I'll get straight to the point." He inhaled deeply. "I've fallen in love with someone else, and I want a divorce." Mina nodded. "I see." His brows shot up. He wasn't expecting acceptance, especially not this quickly. "Well," he continued, "as for the division of assets." Mina raised a hand gently. "You mean the condo, the cars, and the land?" "Yes," he said. "We'll need to sell the land to start fresh. We each take half." Mina tilted her head as if confused. "Half?" "Yes," Tariq replied impatiently. "It's joint property. The land and the house we started." "The land," Mina said softly, "is not joint property." Tariq froze. "What are you talking about?" "We've invested in it together. That makes it joint." Mina stood, walked to the credenza, and returned with a folder. Thick, organized, deadly. She placed it gently on the coffee table. "Let me clarify," she said, opening it. She held up the deed. "The land is legally mine. It was a gift. Gifts are not marital property." Tariq blinked, panic flickering across his face. But the construction." "Yes," Mina said calmly. "The foundation we started is marital. And here," she pulled out bank statements, "are the records showing the payments." Tariq grabbed the papers, scanning them frantically. "Mina, these show your account made most of the transfers." "Yes," she said quietly. "You gave me your contributions in cash, remember? I paid the contractors from my card." He looked up, face paling. "Mina, this makes it look like you paid almost everything." "It's not what I intended," she said calmly. "It's simply what happened." Tariq's confidence shattered. "You knew," he whispered. "You knew about everything." Mina didn't answer. "You read my messages." It wasn't a question. It was the moment his entire plan collapsed. He stood abruptly, pacing. "You orchestrated this entire thing." Mina gave a soft, humorless laugh. "No, I simply protected myself. The same way you prepared to destroy me." Tariq's composure snapped. This isn't fair. Mina's voice remained even. And cheating on your wife, planning to divorce her behind her back, and attempting to take her inheritance? Is that fair? His mouth opened. No words. Only guilt and fear. Finally, he collapsed onto the sofa, defeated. Mina, I didn't think you'd fight back. You're not this person. She met his eyes. I wasn't, she said, but you created her. Silence filled the room, heavy, final. What happens now? Tariq asked weakly. Now, Mina said, standing tall. We get the divorce you wanted. We'll divide the condo, we'll sort the cars. But the land stays with me. That is not negotiable. Tariq swallowed hard. And if I refuse? Mina looked at him with a calmness he couldn't understand. Then you can explain your infidelity and financial manipulation to a judge. I'm sure they would love to read your messages. Tariq's face drained of color. We're done here, she concluded. You should go. He slowly stood, defeated and shocked by the woman in front of him. A woman he never truly knew. A woman he underestimated until it was too late. Mina opened the door. He walked out. And for the first time in 12 years, Mina felt free. The hours after Tariq left were strangely quiet. Not the heavy, suffocating silence Mina had felt 2 weeks earlier. This silence felt like the first breath after surfacing from deep water. She stood in the middle of the living room, staring at the door he had walked through. 12 years of marriage had ended with a folder on the table and a truth she didn't plan but had learned to embrace. She didn't lose him. She freed herself from him. That night, Mina allowed herself to cry. Not the kind of cry that breaks a person, but the kind that cleanses, empties, resets. She stood by the window, watching the city lights flicker against the evening sky. I'm still here, she whispered to herself. And that's enough. The divorce begins. The next month was a blur of court dates, lawyer meetings, and paperwork. Tariq fought harder than Mina expected. He contested the land status. He demanded a bigger share of the construction value. He claimed emotional mistreatment, which even his own lawyer struggled to say with a straight face. But Mina stayed composed, focused, protected. Ava attended every hearing with her. You're doing incredible, Ava told her. He can't hurt you anymore. The judge reviewed the documents carefully, especially the land deed and the payment records. Tariq's case weakened each time Mina presented another piece of evidence. Then came the final ruling. The judge adjusted her glasses, looked at Tariq, and said, Mr. Adeyemi, the land belongs solely to your ex-wife. You are entitled only to compensation for the construction portion you can prove. Tariq's lawyer sank in his seat. Tariq's face fell apart in slow motion. Mina didn't smile, but she felt something deep, warm, powerful rise in her chest. Justice. After court, Ava squeezed her shoulder. You won. Mina breathed out a long, trembling exhale. Yes, she had. The aftermath. The weeks that followed were quieter. Mina went back to work, focusing on her role at the accounting firm. Her boss noticed her renewed dedication. You've become sharper, he said, focused. I'm impressed, Mina. He wasn't the only one. Her coworkers started coming to her for help, not just with financial spreadsheets, but with personal issues. One afternoon, her manager called her into his office. How would you feel about taking on a more senior position? He asked. Mina blinked. A promotion? Her salary would increase. Her responsibilities would grow. It would give her the stability she desperately needed after the divorce. I'd love that, Mina said, genuinely smiling for the first time in months. A new kind of peace evenings became healing rituals. Mina lit lavender candles, cooked simple meals, listened to soft jazz, and let herself breathe, deeply, freely. She visited the land one last time. Standing on the foundation, she closed her eyes and whispered, "This was supposed to be our beginning. Now it will be my closure." She put the lot up for sale. Not because she needed the money, but because she didn't want her future to be built on a memory of betrayal. The unexpected meeting. 2 days after posting the listing, Mina slipped on a patch of ice outside her apartment building. She fell to her knees, wincing. A voice behind her spoke gently. "Are you okay?" She looked up to see a man in his late 40s, wearing a dark wool coat and a warm smile. He extended his hand. "Let me help you," he said. Mina hesitated, old habits of distrust rising, but something in his eyes was steady, kind. She took his hand. He lifted her effortlessly. "Careful," he chuckled softly. "This sidewalk is a trap." Mina smiled, a real smile. "My name is Mina," she said. "Jalen," he replied. "Nice to meet you, though I wish it didn't involve ice." They both laughed quietly. Just like that, in the middle of winter, something warm settled between them. Something new. Something she hadn't expected to feel again. Jalen didn't just help Mina stand. He stayed with her a moment longer, making sure she wasn't dizzy. "You sure you're okay?" he asked gently. Mina nodded, brushing snow off her coat. "Just a little embarrassed," she said with a soft laugh. "No need to be," Jalen replied. "Happens to the best of us." There was something undeniably warm about him, not charming in an intentional way, not trying to impress. Just present, grounded. As they stood there, Mina realized she hadn't felt this calm around anyone in a long time. Jalen gestured toward her building. "Can I walk you to the entrance, just to make sure you don't slip again?" Mina hesitated, but his sincerity dissolved her doubt. "I'd appreciate that," she said. They walked slowly across the icy pavement, step by careful step. At her building's door, Jalen paused. His smile softened. "Well, I'm glad you're okay." Mina tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "Thank you for helping me." He nodded, almost shyly. "Take care, Mina." And he walked away. Mina stood there a moment longer, watching him go, feeling something she hadn't felt since before her marriage fell apart. Possibility. Another encounter. A week later, Mina was leaving a counseling workshop she had started attending, trying to build her confidence and understand her own emotional patterns after the divorce. When she stepped outside, she froze. Jalen was standing across the street at a small flower kiosk, examining a bouquet of white chrysanthemums with surprising care. As if each petal mattered. Mina didn't want to intrude. She started to walk away quietly. But then Jalen turned. Their eyes met. His face lit up. "Mina?" She laughed under her breath. "What are the odds?" He held the chrysanthemums with a gentleness she wasn't used to seeing in men. "These are beautiful," she said, nodding toward the bouquet. Jalen looked down at the flowers, his voice softening. "It's the anniversary of my wife's passing," he said. 3 years today." Mina froze, shame flushing her cheeks. "Oh, Jalen, I'm so sorry. I didn't know." "It's okay," he said quietly. "She would want me to live, not hide." There was a pause, the kind that allows two people to breathe in each other's truth. Jalen cleared his throat. "Are you in a hurry?" he asked gently. "Maybe we could get a coffee, just to warm up." Her first instinct was to say no, to protect herself, to stay safe. But something in his presence felt healing, not a rush, not a demand, only an invitation. "Just for a little while," Mina said. "I have another workshop later." "Perfect," he smiled. "That's just enough time." The coffee shop. The cafe was warm, the windows fogged from the cold outside. They took a small table by the window and ordered vanilla cappuccinos. Conversation flowed easily, surprisingly easily. Jalen talked about his work as a structural engineer, how he restored old houses and historical buildings. It's like giving stories new life, he said, respecting the past but making room for the future. Mina told him about her accounting job and how she'd started studying counseling. Jalen's eyebrows lifted. That sounds meaningful. It is, Mina said quietly. After everything, I realized I wanted to help people who feel lost. Jalen nodded slowly. I know that feeling. They talked for nearly 2 hours, and Mina didn't notice the time passing until she accidentally checked her phone. Oh no, my lecture starts in 20 minutes. Jalen laughed softly. I'll get you a cab. You shouldn't run in this ice. When the taxi arrived, he handed her a simple business card. If you ever want to talk again, or just sit in a warm cafe and drink 2 sweet coffee. His smile was kind. No pressure. Mina took the card. For the first time in a long time, her heart didn't panic. It fluttered. Just a little. For 2 days, Mina kept Jalen's business card tucked inside her planner. Not calling, not texting, just thinking. Her heart was cautious. Too cautious. Every time she reached for her phone, the memory of Tariq's betrayal flickered in her mind like a warning sign. But then she remembered Jalen's eyes. Calm, respectful, patient. He didn't ask for anything. He didn't push. He just offered presence. On the evening of the 3rd day, Mina stared at her phone and whispered, "Don't let fear decide again." She dialed the number. The moment Jalen's warm voice filled the line, her shoulders relaxed. Mina, he said, surprised but happy. I was hoping you'd call. She smiled without meaning to. I enjoyed talking to you, she admitted. Maybe we could do it again? I'd like that, he said gently. How about Saturday? There's a small art gallery opening near the river. Nothing fancy, just cozy. That sounds perfect. The second meeting. The gallery was quiet, filled with soft jazz and warm lighting. Jalen was already waiting when Mina arrived. He wore a navy coat, his hands in his pockets, and when he saw her, his smile spread slowly, genuine, unforced. Mina, he greeted. You look peaceful. She laughed lightly. That's a new word people use for me. They walked through the gallery, stopping at paintings, sharing thoughts, laughing at abstract pieces neither of them understood. Mina noticed how attentive Jalen was, not to impress her, but because he actually cared about her reactions. He didn't touch her, didn't crowd her, but she felt his presence like a steady warmth beside her. Afterward, they sat by the river, watching the water shimmer under the streetlights. I never expected to enjoy this, Mina said quietly. What? Jalen asked. Peace, she whispered. After everything, I didn't think I deserved it yet. Jalen turned to her, his voice soft. Mina, pain doesn't take away your worth. It just shows you where you've been, not where you're going. Her breath caught. No one had spoken to her like that in years. She looked away, overwhelmed, not by sadness, but by the gentle possibility of hope. Not rushing, their meetings continued, slow and steady. Coffee on Wednesdays, walks on Sundays, occasional dinners when schedules allowed. Jalen never asked about Tariq, never demanded explanations. He let Mina share at her own pace. One evening, after a long walk through the city, Mina finally said, I was married for 12 years. Jalen nodded, waiting. He betrayed me, took advantage of me, and I didn't even see it coming. Jalen didn't respond with pity, only understanding. I'm sorry, he said quietly. That kind of pain doesn't fade quickly. No, she agreed, but talking to you makes it feel lighter. He smiled, but gently, as if not to break the moment. I'm glad. There were no declarations, no rushing, just two people learning to breathe around each other's scars. Spring arrived slowly, almost shyly. warming the city one soft breeze at a time. For Mina, it felt like a reflection of her own healing. Nothing dramatic, nothing sudden. Just small, steady thaws in places she once believed were permanently frozen. Jalen had become a quiet constant in her life. A message every morning. Good day, Mina. Drink water. Breathe. A call every evening. How did your day go? Never intrusive, never demanding, always gentle. Mina found herself looking forward to those small rituals more than she expected. Dinner at Jalen's home. One Friday evening, Jalen invited her over for dinner. I cook decent food, he joked over the phone. No promises, but decent. Mina hesitated. Visiting someone's home meant a deeper step. But her heart nudged her forward. When she arrived, she immediately sensed the atmosphere. Warm, lived in, thoughtful. Bookshelves lined the walls, filled with architecture guides, poetry books, and photographs of old buildings Jalen had restored. On a side table stood a framed picture of a woman, his late wife, Irma. Mina approached it slowly. She was beautiful, Mina said softly. Jalen joined her side. She was, and she had a beautiful soul. Mina turned to him. Do you still miss her? Every day, he answered. But missing someone doesn't mean you stop living, or that your heart can't make room again. Mina swallowed gently. His honesty held no agenda, no manipulation, just truth. She liked that about him, more than she expected to. They ate baked salmon with rosemary vegetables, a simple dish, but cooked with care. After dinner, they sat on the couch, talking for hours about everything and nothing. At one point, Mina said, You're easy to talk to. Jalen smiled softly. And you're easy to listen to. The first real connection over the next few weeks, they saw each other regularly. Their conversations deepened. Their silences became more comfortable. Mina told him more about her past, the chaos, the betrayal, the pain. Jalen listened, not with pity, but with presence. You deserved better, he said quietly one evening as they walked along a quiet street. And you still do. Mina felt something inside her loosen, a knot she didn't even know she'd been holding. When he gently reached for her hand, she didn't pull away. His touch was warm, safe, steady. And in that moment, something shifted. Not a dramatic spark, not a movie scene revelation, just a soft, unmistakable truth. She was beginning to trust him, maybe even to care for him, deeply. Introducing his son. Summer arrived early that year. One sunny weekend, Jalen invited Mina to meet his son, Xavier, a 22-year-old architecture student home for break. Mina was nervous, terrified even, but Jalen reassured her. Just be yourself, he said. He'll like you. At the door, Xavier greeted her politely. Tall, thoughtful eyes, reserved smile, just like his father. Over dinner, Xavier studied Mina with quiet curiosity. Finally, while Jalen stepped into the kitchen, Xavier said, My dad is different with you. Mina blinked. Different how? Lighter, Xavier replied. He's been surviving since my mom passed, but now he seems like he's living again. Mina didn't know what to say. She felt honored and terrified when at the same time. Xavier added gently, For what it's worth, I think you're good for him. Mina's throat tightened. She hadn't expected acceptance, especially not this easily. When Jalen returned, Xavier gave Mina a small, approving smile. And in that moment, Mina realized this wasn't a temporary connection. This wasn't a rebound. This was becoming something real, something stable, something honest, something she didn't think she'd ever have again. Autumn arrived like a soft whisper, brushing gold across the city. For Mina, the season didn't just change the weather. It changed her life. Her days were filled with purpose. Her evenings, warmth. Her heart, steady for the first time in years. And Jalen, He became the quiet anchor she didn't know she needed. The lakeside trip. One Saturday morning, Jalen called with an unusual excitement in his voice. Mina, pack something comfortable. I want to take you somewhere. Where? She asked, laughing. You'll see. He drove them 2 hours north into a forest of tall pines and soft, winding roads. Eventually, they reached a small lakeside cottage, old but beautifully maintained. Water shimmered under the afternoon light. The air smelled of pine and earth. It's peaceful here, Mina whispered. It's where I come when life feels too loud, Jalen said, and I wanted to share it with you. They spent the day wandering through the woods, picking wild berries, laughing over silly stories, and simply existing, without rush, without fear. In the evening, Jalen built a fire outside. They sat wrapped in blankets, watching the flames dance. Mina stared into the fire, feeling her heart settle into something she hadn't felt in, maybe ever, belonging. I haven't felt this alive in a long time, she admitted. Jalen turned to her, eyes reflecting firelight. I thought my life ended when Irma died, he said softly. And then I realized she wouldn't have wanted me to become a ghost. He took her hand, not forceful, not hesitant, just sincere. Meeting you gave me a second chance. Mina's breath caught. Jalen. He shook his head gently. I'm not trying to replace what you lost. And you're not trying to replace what I lost. This, whatever it becomes, it's ours. Unique. New. Mina looked into his eyes and saw no lies, no manipulation, no hidden motives. Just truth, and kindness, and love. Slow, calm, mature love. I've fallen for you too, Mina whispered. And it scares me. Jalen smiled, warm, reassuring. I'm not asking for blind trust, he said. Let's build this slowly, day by day. They leaned into each other, the crackling fire wrapping around them like a promise. For the first time in years, Mina didn't feel broken. She felt found. A new life begins. They drove back to the city the next morning, hands intertwined on the console between them. Mina thought about how far she'd come. From a woman betrayed to a woman reborn. Her job was steady. Her heart was healing. Her future and glowing with possibility. She sold the land shortly after, not out of need, but out of choice, a symbolic gesture of leaving the past behind. The money would help her start fresh, maybe open her own counseling studio one day. Jalen encouraged her gently. You'd be incredible at it. You've already lived the kind of pain you want to help others overcome. Mina smiled. Maybe he was right. The final encounter with Tariq. One afternoon in the shopping mall, Mina unexpectedly ran into Tariq. He looked thinner, older, defeated in a way Mina couldn't fully recognize. Mina, he said softly, you look good. Thank you, she replied calmly. He shifted awkwardly. I heard you're studying counseling now. I am. I'm happy for you, he said, then hesitated. Sela and I broke up. She wasn't who I thought she was. Mina felt nothing but distant empathy. I hope you find what you're looking for, she said politely. There was no anger, no sadness, no triumph, just closure. Goodbye, Mina, he whispered. Goodbye, Tariq, she answered. And as he walked away, Mina felt something release inside her, a final thread snapping clean. She was free, truly free. The real ending. The one she deserved that evening, Mina told Jalen about the encounter. He listened patiently. And how did it make you feel? He asked. Mina thought for a moment. Grateful, she said finally. Grateful that everything happened exactly the way it did. If it hadn't, I would never have found myself. And I would never have found you. Jalen's eyes softened. He pulled her into his arms. Mina, he whispered, your scars aren't your shame. They're your gold. They're the proof that you survived and became stronger. She closed her eyes, letting the truth of his words settle deep in her chest. Mina had finally learned something she wished she had understood years ago. Sometimes betrayal doesn't break you. Sometimes it frees you and leads you to the life you were meant to live.